This has changed my life massively. If you know there's something that's not quite right, do this, embrace it in its entirety, throw yourself absolutely into it, and I guarantee you, after that 12-week program, you'll have a very different perspective on things.
Steve, do you want to introduce yourself, who you are, what you do?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Luke. No pressure with the legend piece. Yeah, so I'm Steve Dargan. I'm a headhunter. I work for one of the top search firms globally. I run their global digital infrastructure practice as well as their European technology practice.
What was going on then, and what was your motivation for having a chat?
It's interesting because I've sort of replayed this conversation with a few friends, and I think the reality was the time of your posts, the connection requests, all that wonderful stuff was at a point where I was a little bit lost, if I'm being honest. I'd spent sort of the last 3 or 4 years working at 100 miles an hour, stupid hours, neglecting the family, which was starting to hurt. I'm just feeling a bit crap, actually. And I wasn't quite sure how to sort of redress that balance while still trying to perform at a really good level for the business, which I'm massively passionate about and feel privileged in the role that I've got, etc. So didn't want to lose that, but thought there's got to be a better, smarter way of working.
Like, what are your key successes, achievements? Given that's where you were, where are we at today, and what's your achievements? And then I think if we take that and then we can dig into some of the things that have helped you get to where we are today.
If you look at the blueprint, you look at the process, what you go through, and you break it down into sort of the 3 core areas around sort of nutrition, exercise, and then that whole mindset accountability piece. The nutrition and the mindset piece were quite binary for me. It was easy. That wasn't tough. I'm used to doing exercise. I really enjoy it. It's a good release. The nutrition piece wasn't overly difficult. It was the mindset accountability piece that was really tough. Now, you and I have had these conversations a number of times. I don't like using that sort of word fluffy, but it's the fluffy grey stuff that was really, really tough for me. But it's had a massive impact on how I feel right now and the sort of principles I can apply moving forward. And there's things in there that I will absolutely do forever. The most important bit is the feedback from the family, because that was super important. Much more present, much more engaged, and there's obviously some of the techniques that we've used through that sort of blueprint that have really made a difference, and that's stuff that will stay permanently.
What would you say has been your key takeaway from the whole process?
First and foremost, if you're going to do it, you've got to go all in. Really lay yourself bare, which, as I said, is a really difficult thing to do in itself. But I think the rewards that come as a consequence of that are massive. If you want to make some changes, then you've just got to, for me, if you're going to do this, go all in is one thing. And I just think that whole structure and routine, not just around nutrition and exercise, but also the mindset piece, that bit is huge. It's huge. And I think, you and I have had this conversation about, we've only just sort of lifted the lid on that. I think there's more work potentially to do. It's not a finished article by any stretch of the imagination. But for me, if I look at where I started and where I am now, I think ultimately, I want to be the best version of me that I possibly can be. And the version I've got now is distinctly better than the version that was, beginning of August or wherever we started this journey. So that whole clarity piece, that sort of laser focused bit has not just come from one element, it's come from all 3. And it's interesting running headlong into things that you don't particularly want to do or you're not comfortable with. Sometimes they're not as bad as you were expecting, or they're not as difficult as you were expecting. One of the other biggest takeaways for me, and replaying this back even now in my own head, is a bit like, really, is that the meditation piece. That is huge for me. I was, but I genuinely enjoy it. I really look forward to doing it every day. Don't miss it. It's the one thing that's absolutely got to be in there. And it's made a huge difference.
If anyone's watching this and they were thinking, yeah, that sounds great, but maybe on the fence, never had a coach, maybe a bit like you, what's this sort of personal development all about? It's a bit funny. What would you say to someone who's clearly maybe know that they need something, but they're not sure about starting the process?
This has changed my life massively. If you know there's something that's not quite right, do this, embrace it in its entirety, throw yourself absolutely into it, and I guarantee you, after that 12-week program, you'll have a very different perspective on things, and you'll feel, I'll use your phrase here, you'll start feeling like Batman.
Nice. Well, on that note, Steve, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure chatting. Thank you for your time. If anyone's watching and they like the sound of what we've been talking about, they would like a chat, drop a note in the comments or drop me a DM. We can have a conversation. On that note, Steve, have an awesome day. Everyone else, enjoy the rest of your week. Thank you very much.